I'm only what you make me, baby. Don't walk away, don't be so shady. Just want your mind, don't want your money. Just words I say, they may sound funny, but oh, sweet thing. Don't you know you're my everything? All right. We have a lot of women out here, and this is definitely for the ladies. We have a lot of women who think that going to the man's wallet is going to get you what you want. Sweetie, if all you're looking for is a wallet, you can make that money yourself. And you don't have to do it in a sleazy way, okay? The importance of it all is that you have to put your heart in it. You have to love what you're doing. This is the problem. I think people just take a job because they want the money, and they don't see the reality of it all. When I went into trucking, people were like, oh, you're going to make a lot of money. And I made some pretty good money at the time. But here's the thing. If your heart is not in it, if your heart isn't in it, why won't you tell me so? If your heart isn't in the job, then how are you going to stay? God was sending me so many messages. I mean, I was having scary dreams saying, it's time to go. And while it was difficult because I was going through a tug of war at one point, and I was saying, I can make the money for it, and then I can work other things. He's like, nah, you're not even supposed to be doing that in the first place. You only did that to transition. Now it's time for you to make your way into people's hearts, working towards helping other people. You've done it all your life, helping family members, being a social worker, being a teacher. You know how many students were thrown into my classroom because of behavior or because of attitude problems? And honestly, they come into my classroom and I didn't see what the problem was. They say, oh, this child is suicidal. I didn't see it. They weren't suicidal in my classroom. What they felt was love. That's why I say, and you're a teacher, you got to put your heart in it. You got to know that these children need love more than anything. And of course, I was stern with some of my love, I'm going to tell you. Because I had girls call me the B word under their breath, of course. But under the same circumstances, I still knew how they felt. They were angry. But the anger wasn't necessarily towards me. The anger was towards their circumstances. Homeless children who were angry at their circumstances. And I didn't believe what was going on until, I had an experience where a student tried to follow me home. But let's go back to the ladies. A lot of women are hurt out here. Some of them are just dealing with men just because they want company. The man is not footing his part of the bill. He's not working. He's sitting in the house watching TV, playing video games, and she is the one struggling, and he's not even helping the kids with the homework. If you don't begin to see your circumstances now, when your children get older, they're going to see it. They already see it now. It's time that we say, okay, if I'm going to choose this mate, I'm choosing him because of his heart. I'm choosing him because he knows what he's doing. And if he doesn't know, we're going to find out. We're going to focus and we're going to find out together. You can be in his corner. You can support him. You can love him. And you guys can get where you got to go together. But here's the thing. If he's meeting you on a selfish level where he's not able to, now if he's not able to and there are other issues, now that's another situation. But if he's selfish with it, if he is burning every bridge and bringing you down with him, then you definitely have to separate. If not for your children, for your own sanity. Your heart is a beautiful heart. You don't want to take that heart and have it melt away to nothing. All because you counted on a person who could not do their part. Now, it's one thing if the person is sick and you can get them some help. I was in a relationship with a man who I felt had some instabilities, and we went and sought counseling. And he's a beautiful person. He was beautiful before that. But with him going to counseling, he is sprouted on a whole nother level. You see, I always believed, I had an aunt who constantly told me, she said, I left him with a fork, a spoon, and a knife, and a plate, and I took everything else. And she was bragging about it. I found that to be heartless, and I would not, I'm not going to support something like that. If I leave you, I'm leaving you better than I found you. Specifically because I feel like you deserve that much, because maybe someone didn't invest in you. So I've done that my whole life. I have invested in people, even when people said, man, I've invested. I've given some advice and I stepped away. Now, I'm not going to stay there if it's not supporting myself, and I'm not going to stay there if I feel that it is sacrificing myself on a whole different level. And if the person has children, you definitely have to invest in them, because you have to give something so that those children will have a healthier father, you know? And I saw this growing up. I saw when my mother made sure that my father had clean underwear and clean socks. I saw where she put her heart in the meal and made sure that he was sitting there and he was able to enjoy his meal before she walked away. She observed what the needs were and provided them, and then she went on about her business. But she made sure, even when my father and them were no longer together, and he'd just come by to pick us up, she said, did you eat? She always made sure that he was fed. And she did look. She said, you know, she'd buy the boys enough socks so if their father needed some and he was in the room getting dressed, he would be able to take a pair of those socks. And she made sure that she sat with us and said, listen, your father's going through something right now, you know, until she could no longer speak on his behalf. That was a heartfelt experience, watching her. Watching the torture in her heart when she saw that he was doing something that was not right. Still having heart and still making sure that the basics were done. Lending money when she didn't even have the money. You see, when we go into our lifestyle, we meet people, we interact with other people, your mate is a part of you once you have chosen that person. Your heart, their heart, coming together, not just being Valentine's Day. You already heard what Alicia Keys, when she was talking about in that song, when she was saying that, you know, she just wanted to make sure that she saw the guy. He was coming, stopping at the restaurant. It was something more to it. When you connect with a person heart to heart, it's not about all these material things. I don't even know how that whole thing started. If he ain't got this, listen. That's the reason why some people are losing right now. Because if he ain't got, first of all, where are you coming from with that? First of all, if you met in the middle, and if he's not doing his part, okay, fine. You just met him, you can easily cut ties then. But when you meet a person and you see that they are coming towards you in a natural way, they literally want to learn, they want to grow, then you meet them halfway. Both of you learn and grow together. Rome wasn't built in a day. I say that every day, I feel like, you know. A person, you know, I've dated guys with children. And every time, I'm going to tell you, my heart got caught up in those children every time. I once dated a guy who had a nephew. He didn't have any children. He had a nephew. And we had to babysit one night. You know, we were supposed to be going out to eat, and his cousin called and said, you know, there was an emergency. Can you please, you know, babysit? And that baby boy, oh my goodness, he was just the sweetest little thing, okay? And he did not want, he held my hand until he fell asleep. He didn't want to go to sleep without me standing by his bed. And I sat there and I sung a song to him. And he fell off to sleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up to look and see if I was still there. He was the sweetest little boy. And I think what it more so was, his father was helping to raise him. His mother was out of town, and he needed that female, you know, nurturance. You know, that's the reason why I always said, you know, if I'm going to have a family, I want to make sure that I have a mate, because it's already hard enough. These single moms, I take my hat off to you. You are beautiful. You stand on your own. You stand strong. You are working hard. You're making sure those kids have their food on the table. You are doing it. And I congratulate you wholeheartedly. But if and I'm sure a lot of women start off on the right track. They wanted to be married. They wanted all of these different things. But somewhere along the lines, things will compromise. And that's fine too. These experiences are going to make us stronger. But now that you know better, you're going to choose better. You're going to choose the mate that is appropriate for you. Interview him. Ask the necessary questions. What is it that you see in me? What is it that you want? What is it that you like? You know? I was talking to this woman recently, and she asked her mate, what he saw in her. And sometimes you're not always ready to hear the answer, the response to it. But you're still working in the right direction. She's working on having this relationship with this person, and, it's coming along. They're taking their time, walking through the park, having that conversation. It has to start with that conversation. What is it that you like? What is it that you see? What is it that you want out of life? We're all striving for things. And it's important that we let your counterpart, know what it is that you're striving for. What is it that you want? When I'm in the Hamptons, I spend more time on the beach than anything. And it's colder there, so I don't even know what has been compromising, some of my visits to the beach. Well, of course, priorities do take their own part. But when God is leading you to the right mate, you're going to know. I remember working with these two guys who, I was working at the time at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I saw when they were reaching that level where they were tired of just dating. They wanted someone with purpose. They wanted someone who was going to spend the rest of their lives together. They were going to spend the rest of their lives together with. And I enjoyed even observing them and giving certain advice and listening to what it was that they were looking for. And as they, moved closer to their goals, they did a lot more talking. They did a lot more listening. And those relationships flourished as they should. It's important that we look at that. And while you are trying to move forward, you got to know what you want first before you have the conversation. And even if you're growing together, you still need that single personal time to get yourself together, to spend getting to know who you are, getting to learn what love means to you. We're all on a love journey, on a like journey, getting to know what we like. Do we like ourselves? Do we love ourselves? And on this journey, it just happens to be February, 14th is going to be Valentine's Day. Don't expect to get or to receive so much. You giving something also helps, and even if you don't have it, you can get that piece of paper out and start writing yourself that letter, There's a few people who've approached me recently, and the conversations have been a little bit more serious. And not that I was ever even expecting such things, but here's the thing. When it's right and when it's not right. Tap into your heart, I had to have a conversation where I told the guy that, I really am looking at friendship right now. And that is a nicer way to put it, because I did have to tell him that I don't feel that we are compatible, You have to have those conversations sometimes. And it was more so because honestly, we had nothing in common. And when you have nothing in common and you're trying to, come together, it's like the magnet turned on the wrong side. It's not going to even touch it. You got to force it. And I'm not willing to do any forcing. But a friendship is important when you can grow, when you can really enjoy it. I have a good friend that I worked with. And, sometimes I'll throw different ideas out at him or what have you. He's a nice guy. And, I really respect and love the person that, he's in a relationship with. And I adore the two of them. You know, I think that they are a beautiful couple. I know that they're growing into something, and it's important that that you do that. And they had to have the conversation also about when you have friendships outside the relationship. Where do you stand in that capacity? Because a lot of women have an issue with that. There are people who I haven't even seen this one person in years, and this woman thinks that I want her man. It's just the most it's the most surprising and startling thing, because you think, well, why would she even consider having me as an idea of even wanting to go near that person when I've been very specific in saying no thank you, But, a lot of people have insecurities, and that's another thing you have to work on. You have to work at these insecurities. We all have them. But, but another thing too, if you have a mate who lets you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are the only one, that's also a gift. And if you have that, you need to, appreciate that, I once dated a ball player, and, no, actually he was more so retired. He was basically a coach. And I always, we wherever he dropped the ball, I pick it up. Wherever I dropped the ball, he'd pick it up. And it was a very supportive relationship until it wasn't any longer. I remember him coming in from football games and running a bath and making sure that, he had his food and, sitting down and listening to how his day was. Sometimes you have to take a back seat from you and listen to what the other person is saying or what they need, what their needs are. In this society, we are taught to take. It's almost like what my mother said, gimme, 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 never here, here, here. It's important that we look at that. Where is it that I can be more supportive, more helpful? Where is it that I can be a better listener? And let me tell you, I'm working on that one. I have been working on that one. That one and patience, okay? But don't pray to God and ask for more patience, because He's going to test you on every level. So if you're not ready, don't watch what you ask for, because you just might get it. It's so important that we really look at what it is that we want. There was a movie star, what's her name? I forgot her name. She's the Viola Davis. Oh, how could I forget your name? You're so beautiful. Viola Davis, when she said she had to write that list of all the things that she wanted in a mate, I thought that was beautiful. I love her story. I love listening to her and being able to relate in some way. It's important that we look at our lives and what it is that we want. If you don't want to be solo, single, and I'm giving advice, I'm actually single, but if that's not what you want, then let us begin to focus on that list of things that you really do want, and have that conversation with potential prospects of who those individuals that you think you might, be more compatible with. But don't just take just anyone, and don't take the first one that comes to you if that's not what it is that you're looking for, So that's been my word. I hope that you are gaining more than gaining more of what it is that you want, okay? So you know what? It's so lovely being you, and thank you for joining us. You have a good one.